Hey, this is Evan Longoria of your San Francisco Giants, and you're listening to Torture Cast.
You're listening to a podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Let's go, Giants! With hosts Willie Dills, Chad King, Ben Lee, and Eric Nathanson. Dedicated to the greatest team in Major League Baseball, the San Francisco Giants. This is Torture Cast. Standing on time, not gonna stop. We came to play, ain't slowing down. Falling on, we're here to stay, and we're stomping on whatever's in our way. I'm feeling like a Giant tonight.
It's Monday, April 2nd, 2018, and this is episode 137 of the Torture Cast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. I'm your host, Chad King, for tonight, and joining me from Georgia is Eric Nathanson. What's up, Eric?
Not much. I'm happy that we have baseball back. The day before the baseball season, I got married, so it was a whole a new thing, and the Giants blessed me with 2 wins in the beginning, but it's kind of gone downhill from then. So that's why, listeners out there that read my stuff, I got married in the middle of last week, so I kind of stopped writing because you just kind of want to bask in the glow for a little bit. So I'll be back to writing in a little bit.
Yeah, congratulations to Eric. He did get married, and the Giants rewarded him with 2 quick victories, but that was the parting gift. That was the wedding gift that got returned pretty quickly.
Joe's the only guy who cared. Yeah,
do you have like a gift receipt for that? Can you return it and try to get 3 or 4 wins next time? That'd be nice.
They split. It's better.
Yeah, so let's talk about it. I mean, look, we only have 4 games to speak of since our last podcast. They did open the season. We can talk about the roster in a little bit because those were set, or the roster was set since our last recording. But anytime you go on the road for a 4-game series or go on the road for a long trip, the goal is to split. The goal for a whole season is to be 500 on the road. And the Giants did that. They got their 500. They got 2-2 versus the defending National League champions. And the Dodgers are still pretty much one of the favorites to win the World Series again this year. They're a good team. There's no denying that. But I will say this. When you win the first 2 games of a 4-game series, you kind of smell blood. Now, they didn't exactly eviscerate the Dodgers in those first 2 games, but they did win 2. And you're thinking to yourself, all right, no more Kershaw. We've touched him up a little bit. We have a decent offense, at least on paper. They did well in the spring. If we just sneak away with one of these next 2 games, that's 3 out of 4. And suddenly we're 2 games up on the Dodgers. We're 3-1, and we're looking good. And we talked about it last week in our season preview. If the Giants can just hang around 500 until MadBum comes back, after, of course, Shark comes back, after, of course, Melancon comes back, which we'll get to that too, that's going to be okay. They're probably going to be in the hunt, at least in sniffing distance of first place. These are the times where they do have to just jump on their prey. They have to gut it out as much as they can. That being said, if you told me the Giants were going to get outscored 14-2 in a 4-game series and they split, I would literally be getting out a piece of paper and going, how the F did they do that? How is that even possible? Like, they would have to win 2 1-0 games. That's the only way. Oh, that's exactly what they did. So, yeah, you just mentioned it. Joe Panik giving you a nice wedding gift twice, 2 nights in a row. Hits a solo shot off of Kershaw. He gets the L, and hits a solo shot in the 9th off of Jansen, of course, one of the best closers in baseball. And the Giants' pitching was outstanding those first 2 games with Ty Block going 5 shutout. And, of course, Johnny Cueto with 6 perfect innings, 7 innings of 1-hit shutout ball. So, I mean, how are you feeling after those first 2 games going into the next 2? Did you feel kind of the same way that if they could just split the next 2, this is looking pretty good?
I was good. Once they won the second game, I was good. I knew that if they didn't play well on Saturday and Sunday, everybody would be screaming kind of how we are at the lack of offense. But the fact that they were able to steal 2, everybody's been talking about how there's 10 games against the Dodgers to start the season. Mm-hmm. So you kind of want to come out 5-5. They're already won 2 games in Dodger Stadium. They got to win 2 out of 3 at home, and then they only need to take 1 more at Dodger Stadium, and they come out with a split on the month. So I was happy. I was comfortable. Yeah. I mean, it still blew my mind. Joe Panik did something nobody's ever done in the history of baseball. No team has ever won back-to-back 1-0 games with the same guy hitting a solo home run in each game in the history of baseball, let alone the first 2 days of the season against, as you said, Cy Young winner Kershaw and best closer in baseball Jansen. So I was feeling pretty good. I expected the Giants to lose on Saturday. The Dodgers had their ring ceremony for, almost winning. And then they were all excited for that. So you kind of figured they'd take one there. But I thought I was disappointed in yesterday's game. I really thought Stratton was going to take some control, and he looked pretty good, but the offense just didn't show up. And when the floodgates opened, it was just a tsunami.
Yeah, it was ugly. I think we need to dive into it a little bit. Again, you tell me they split the first 4 games in Dodger Stadium. I'm happy with that. And I still am. They still can come home saying, look, we split. We're a half game out of first, whatever. It doesn't matter. We just got to hang around 500. But obviously the red flag is not the pitching. There were some hiccups, and we'll get into some of the individual performances. Overall, as a team, the ERA is just above 3, so it's not, a train wreck or anything at this point. The train wreck certainly resides with their offense right now. Again, we're dealing with the Dodgers. They had one of the best pitching staffs all last year and all in Major League Baseball. They will again this year. So they are up against a great, great set of pitchers. But that said, they tried to address some of their offensive deficiencies with the additions of Jackson, McCutchen, Longoria. And they were just incredible this weekend. They were a combined 2 for 47. 2 for 43. That's an 047 clip. Longoria is still hitless in 15 at-bats. Cutch was 1 for 16, and Jackson was 1 for 12. I mean, this is getting into like the worst hitting pitchers kind of territory batting average. This is not good, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. Do you think, because I was listening to Jeremy Affeldt today, he was on KMBR, and they were talking about this 2 for 43 combined between the 3 new guys. And they were asking him, what do you think is behind this? I mean, how do all 3 are slumping at the exact same time in a 4-game series? And he said, yeah, well, first of all, you got to tip your cap to the Dodgers to a certain extent. But a lot of it definitely has to do with coming to a new team, and you feel a little bit of that pressure to perform for your new team. Then you're also thrown into a rivalry game with the Dodgers, and they know kind of the importance of it and where the Giants are with their injuries and how important these games are. So Jeremy's theory is that these 3 guys are just pushing too hard. They're clearly not, 050 hitters. They're not. This is a deviation, a huge deviation from the mean. This is an outlier. He expects them to come back and be fine. But what do you think was the main reason this weekend? Was it the pitching, or was it really them pressing, or was it 50-50? What do you think was going on?
Well, it was a combination, because for each guy it was kind of different. Jackson is kind of providing what Jackson does. I don't expect him to be that great of a hitter. Cutch has hit the ball hard a few times. The Dodgers just have it scouted well. They've had guys right in the right place. Yeah. Like McCutchen hit into a double play last night, and Panik was on the move. Panik was stealing to stay out of the double play, and Cutch hit the ball so freaking hard to the shortstop that they still turned the double play even though Panik was stealing on it. So Cutch, I think he's just going to kind of come around. I agree with Affeldt on the whole theory of being thrown in a rivalry game right away, and you're in the rival's park, and so you kind of want to fit in with your teammates right away. Longo is the one that I think is pressing, and I think it shows in his results. He's been pulling the ball a lot. He's been playing pepper with the third baseman, basically. Mm-hmm. And in spring, part of the thing that everybody was enamored with Longo is he was driving the ball the other way, hitting the right center field gap, hitting it out to center field, things like that. And he's not doing that at all. I think every single ball he's put in play has gone to the left side.
Yeah, he's rolling it over for weak contact. I agree.
Yeah, so I think Longo's pressing, and he's not doing the basics of hitting. And I'm hopeful that either Alonzo Powell or Rick Shue see that, and they talk to him about that before tomorrow's game against Seattle. So, when he goes out for BP, he concentrates on hitting it back up the middle of the field, hitting it the other way, just to get his rhythm and his timing back down for that. I mean, I agree with Affelt, though. 4 games in your rival, coming out, knowing that the team's coming off a 98 loss season, you're going to press because you want to make an impact right away. I think it got Longo more than any of them, and I think they'll all be fine. I really, really do. Cutch gave me a lot of promise. Jackson, I don't expect much from him. I still think Duggar is going to be the everyday center fielder in 2 months. So I don't expect much from Jackson anyways. But Longo will come around. I think he'll start, seeing that he can hit the ball down the right field line and drive the ball through the center field. You've done it before. When you recenter your hitting approach and you stick with the middle of the field, it gets you your swing back. And that's what it's going to take.
Yeah, these guys are career 260 to 300 hitters. Obviously, Cutch has done better than that during his MVP year, his Rookie of the year, and all that. Jackson definitely is not the hitter the other two are. And I just, I got to tell Twitter, it is Twitter, it's the internet. People just do what they want to do, but they got to calm down a little bit. Same with on some of the Facebook groups that we're both a part of. People just railing on Longo and Cutch and already calling for Pablo to start over Longo and Cutch to not play the outfield and to take some time off. And I mean, it's like people just settle the hell down, okay? They both hit over 20 home runs last year. It's like they're not going to regress to a point where they're not serviceable major leaguers, okay, guys? It's going to be okay.
It was frustrating. I'll say this. Saturday's game, there were 2 plays. McCutchen dove for a ball that he should have pulled up on and kept to a single. And because he dove for it, it became a triple. And then he and Blanco crossed paths, and Cutch is used to being a center fielder.
That's exactly the problem. Yeah.
Grab everything that I can do. And the kinks have just not been worked out. And it's literally just unrealistic to expect the Giants to be performing at their highest level out of the gate because half the team doesn't know each other, especially the outfield.
Yeah, I mean, that was Blanco's first start, and of course McCutchen's in right field, a lifetime center fielder. So they're both going towards the ball, and Cutch is screaming bloody murder to get the ball because that's what he's used to doing. I think it was just instinct took over. And you got to give him a pass in the early part of the season. Clearly that has to tighten up, and he knows that. He actually took full and complete blame for that. And then it confused Blanco, and then McCutchen backed off, and then, it was dropped, and it just, 2 unearned runs scored because of that. It didn't change the outcome of the game. But it certainly, made it harder. It changed
the tenor. Yeah, it changed the whole tenor of the game, though.
Yeah,
because that was a moment. First, he misplayed the 1 run to make it 3-0, and then that ball let in 2 runs to make it 5-0. It was kind of like, well, shit, the Giants can't come back against that bullpen.
No, you're right. When it's a 1-2-3 run game, you're like, we're always just one swing of the bat away from tying this sucker up. But when you get down to 5 runs, that's where it gets to. This is a multi-hit rally kind of thing. It's low probability. We got to chip away at this. It's more of a chipping kind of attitude as opposed to we can get this in 1 inning. And yeah, that it happened. And I'm sure Cutch is going to be fine. He's not a bad defender. I know some of his defensive ratings have gone down over the years, but I think he's still very, very serviceable. Certainly in right field. Hunter Pence, I will say, has looked really, really good in left field so far. Better than I thought. He's made some outstanding reads thus far. So I'm happy with that. I think we got to look at some of the positives. But before we do that, getting back to the negative in terms of offense. So the other big thing is that they had a lot of runners on base. Now, it wasn't because of a lot of base hits. It was definitely the Dodgers committed, 4 errors that one game?
I think so. Forsythe had like 3 of them on his own.
Yeah, exactly. And they've had obviously issued more walks than the Giants had. So, and the Giants almost out hit the Dodgers for the entire series, even though they were outscored 14-2. And that tells you right there when they almost out. In fact, the Giants. I'll just jump to that. They hit 192 for the series. The Dodgers hit 200. They were 8 percentage points away. Yet the Dodgers outscored them 14-2. How is that possible? Well, it's possible because the Giants' hits were scattered. The Dodgers' hits, which there were 200 runs out of the 14, whatever. They were all concentrated for the most part. And so that is evident in the stat of the average for runners in scoring position. The Giants were 1 for 28. I mean, Eric, going in to the last couple of games, or maybe it was even the final game. Yeah, it was. Going into the final game, for the first 3 games, they were 1 for 20 with runners in scoring position. And I actually tweeted that or Facebooked that on the TortureCast account saying, it's great that we're 2-1. but we're 1 for 20. And that one hit, by the way, didn't score a run. Brandon Belt was on second, or was it Buster Posey? I don't know. But he couldn't score on the hit. He had to stop at third because it was being flared out to right field. Point being, that's got to get better to score runs. And then, boom, game number 4, they go another 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position to make it a 1 for 28. Eric, they've been bad the last couple years with runners in scoring position with like around a 200 to 220 average. This is way below that, man. This is even worse than the Longo, Cutch, Jackson batting average. This is down to where I might even be able to go 1 for 28 with runners in scoring position in the major leagues. Maybe. I'm just saying. Well, give me 28 chances.
We got to give the Dodgers pitching some credit. I know people don't want to hear that, but we do have to give the Dodgers pitching some credit. And I'm going to spin the positive out of it. Look at how many freaking base runners the Giants had in the first 4 games.
And now,
these guys are going to come home to score. They are.
They're not going to go 1 for 28 for the year. We know this. It's going to regress back to the mean or come back to the mean. That's great. And that was kind of my point, is that they didn't really get out hit by the Dodgers. They got out hit in the sense of when the hits happened. And there definitely has a lot of credit to be given to the Dodgers for shutting down in the high-stress innings. They gave up 2 runs. They're both solo shots. Yeah, they decided the game, but they weren't in crucial situations, except I guess Jansen was in the 9th. But once the Giants got runners on base, and they had multiple times where they had less than 2 outs and a runner on second or first and third, definitely runners in scoring position, and they just couldn't execute. It was frustrating. And obviously McCutchen and Longoria were huge contributors to that 1 for 28. So, I mean, long term, I agree with you. I'm not worried. As long as they keep putting runners on base, it's going to eventually happen where they're going to crack through for a crooked number, and they're going to be fine for a certain stretch. But they do play the Dodgers, like we said, 10 times in the first 29 games. So if you're going to give the Dodgers a lot of credit, yeah, the Giants have got to adjust. They got to make adjustments. They got to do something to get those runners home, because that's the only way they're going to beat the Dodgers. They're not going to go back into Candlestick. I just said Candlestick. Into AT&T or back to Dodger Stadium and win a couple more 1-0 games with Joe Panik home runs. That's just not going to happen. They got to produce runs the old-fashioned way.
I think the whole thing with the Giants was the offense got overhauled. And after 4 games against your rival, we're just not going to see that. They're different games. It's playoff-type games. So I think after I said it on our preview show, and I still believe it. It's going to take a month for us to see what this team really is. We could be talking about like, oh my God, can you believe they only scored 2 runs in that Dodgers series a month from now, because they're averaging like 7 runs a game since then. Probably not likely.
No, I don't anticipate them being at the bottom of the league in runs per game like they were last year. I certainly don't expect them to be in the top 10 either. I expect them to be somewhere in the middle. And you're right. It's going to happen where they're going to have a couple of series where they blow the doors off, and they're going to be like, oh, okay, they're kind of back to average. They're back up to MLB average or something like that. Right now it doesn't look good, but again, Dodgers, defending NL champs, great pitching staff. It was a road, they were all road games. They split. Let's take it. I mean, that's the positive. You got to think, if you told me they scored 2 runs in a 4-game series and won 2 games, that's insane. I'll take that any day. And the fact is that they're even. They're 500. It's okay against the Dodgers as long as they keep fighting. As long as they get out of this stretch, the first couple of months around 500, it's going to be fine. And they're going to be facing some much weaker teams, besides the Dodgers in this first month. So this is the time to do it. If they can finish, April with a 500 or maybe even slightly above, they're going to be in good shape, because Samardzija looks like he might be coming back a little bit sooner than originally thought. He's already throwing on the side, and he might be back by the middle of April. So we'll see what happens there.
I'm still not convinced that's a good thing.
Well, we did. We'll get to the pitching staff in a little bit. I do want to say one thing about some little records. You talked about starting the season, or really any time in a season, that a team won back-to-back 1-0 games with the same player hitting both solo jacks. That's awesome. Yeah. On the kind of sour note of that, by holding the Giants to only 2 runs, the Dodgers matched the 1915 Phillies for the fewest number of runs allowed over a 4-game series. That's kind of impressive. I wouldn't have thought that. I would have thought that somewhere in Major League history, now granted, 4-game series are much rarer, right? You don't have too many of them throughout the year. So that already kind of eliminates 90% of series, 80% of series, I would say, right? Because most are 3-game series, and then you have your 2 and 4. So you're already kind of limiting the table. But I still would have thought there would have been at least one other series out there which would say a team allowed no runs or even 1 run over 4 games. But apparently not. Apparently this is the first time or the lowest number of runs a team has allowed over a 4-game series. That's not good. It's also the first time in their history that the Giants failed to score more than 1 run in each of the first 4 games of the season. So in the Giants' very, very long 100 and however many years plus history, they've always scored at least more than 1 run in one of the first 4 games. So the fact that they went 1-1-0-0, first time that's happened. So, but again, you know how statistics and these records get into very obscure things. You know, like the first time someone, hit a single hitting left-handed while the full moon was up in, August during a whatever. It happens all the time.
But okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing to you, to every Giants fan who's been focusing on all these negatives. The Giants shut out the defending National League champions 2 days in a row to start the season. Absolutely. When it was their 1 against Ty Block and their 2 against our 2. I mean, they showed something in those first 2 games. The bullpen, and I know we'll get to this with who's hot and who's not, but the pitching, the bullpen, it's lined up so beautifully with the way Watson's done, with the way Strickland's done, the way Osich came in on opening day. It's just, there's such a positive that came out of this series with splitting. Forget that they didn't score for 2 games. Their pitching showed us something as well, and they're the biggest question mark.
Yeah. I mean, teams get shut out. It's okay. It's against the Dodgers. They weren't even close games. So the positives, like you just said, I totally agree with, and we should get into that now, especially considering where the Giants are with their injuries. So when we recorded a week ago, we clearly knew about Bumgarner and we knew about Samardzija. We didn't know about Melancon. That is a development that's happened since then. But Melancon has a right elbow flexor strain and is on the DL. And I don't know if you've heard any differently yet, but there's very little information that's come out. Bochy's been on a couple of shows that I've listened to, and he's kind of said the same thing. But I think they're being guarded. I really think they're being guarded because partially they don't know, but also there's a little bit of worry. And I'm not trying to worry Giants fans out there, but at the same time, some of the evidence points to a very similar issue from 2017. In fact, Melancon himself said the pain felt similar to the strain that he had last year, which is the reason, he went on the DL and missed most of the season. But
So what do you mean by they're being guarded? They're being cautious, or the Giants are not releasing information?
Well, they're certainly being cautious. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt about that. That's fine. But I mean guarded in the sense of they may think, I think they know more than what they're willing to release.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's definitive at all. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there might be some information that is giving them a gut feeling that this might be worse than a 15-day DL stint or whatever. I don't know. I
don't think they, from what I've read, I don't think they know what the hell is going on with Melancon's arm. And I really have 2
and maybe that's worse.
Yeah, it is. It's totally worse. I have 2 straightforward thoughts on Melancon. One, he straight up hijacked the Giants for $62 million. There's no way this guy...
the same way, I'm telling you, man.
There's no way this guy should be getting $15.5 million a year to come in, not even be effective, and then, I'm not sure what my injury is. I don't trust the fact that he said that he felt pain in every pitch he threw from the beginning of spring training on. So why the hell didn't you open your mouth? Why didn't you say something to somebody? Why did you wait until the Giants broke camp? Okay, great. Gut punch. We just lost Samardzija. Gut punch. We just lost Bumgarner. All right, cool, but everybody else is in place. Oh, no, the day before the season. Guess what, Skip? My arm doesn't really feel that well. I need to take a rest. Me and my $15.5 million need to
Kid
go
in the
take
back
a rest.
raising his arm really slowly, like, what else, Timmy? It's like,
It's right, and that's how it felt at the beginning of the season. I have ripped Hunter Strickland on this podcast. I believe Hunter Strickland might have ended Michael Morse's career. But if he has matured, if he has gotten his stuff together, because the way he looked in those first two games, I want Hunter Strickland to be the closer, and I don't care what happens to Melancon in his arm anymore. Because I really feel like the guy hijacked and straight up stole $62 million from the Giants. He totally did. It's the worst signing. I'm calling it now. It's the worst signing they've had. That's why Sabian's back in there, because Bobby Evans did things like signing Mark Melancon.
You're right, and it's funny. I was thinking the other day that if things really go south for him and this other thing goes well, I'll tell you in a second, I think his biggest contribution to the Giants might be getting Tony Watson to sign with the Giants.
Yes, totally. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
I mean, honestly, yeah, he campaigned hard to Tony Watson to join the Giants, and that was one of the big factors in why Watson joined. And he looked fantastic. Fantastic, man. 2 innings, no runs, 5 Ks. He was just mowing them down. I mean, he is definitely the Lopez Affeldt hybrid replacement. I mean, there's no doubt. Him and, of course, Will Smith was the other one that was supposed to replace him, and we'll see what happens with him coming back maybe in May. But yeah, I'm with you, man. Like I like Melancon. I like his personality and his attitude, and kind of he has a pedigree. He obviously was amazing for 3 or 4 years. I don't know what happened. I don't know if something happened before he came to the Giants and he said, I'm going to keep this a secret and fleece him, or if something happened right away and he's just been keeping secrets, or if it's just really the worst bad luck you could have signing a closer to $15-16 million a year. But man, if this does not straighten itself out, it's going to be another lost year with Melancon, and it's just going to be shitty. But
2 out of 4. Like, what's the point?
I know, man. 2 out of 4. It's like, even if he's good the last 2 years, you're like, great, whatever, half the time.
I'm going to say it. Like, all right, I was not a fan of the signing when it happened. I never thought Melancon was much as a closer. He was a guy that I was kind of like, really? This guy? Like, he reminded me of like Joe Borowski being the closer for the Cubs.
Well, he just, because he doesn't have the quote stuff, right? I mean, he's
right. And well, there's a reason, because he's not as advertised.
No, he's not your prototypical closer, and I know some have had success that don't really throw the ball that hard. I mean, Mariano Rivera threw the ball about as hard as Mark Melancon, to be honest, but of course he had that devastating, slider, or forkball, I should say. But Melancon doesn't have that. He has pitched with finesse. He's just not your prototypical, flamethrower. It's just, I agree. I think we could go back to, an episode 3 years ago or 2 years ago when they signed him. I wasn't a huge fan of it just because I thought it was too much money for a guy who, yes, he had proven himself in terms of the numbers, but kind of the scout's eye, quote unquote, is like,
for who?
Yeah, I don't know.
Right? He proved himself for Clint Hurdle. What the fuck does Hurdle know? The guy hasn't been able to get a team over the hump at all. Pittsburgh's a dumpster fire. He can't ever get that thing straight. He had all these chances with the Rockies, so we're trusting Clint Hurdle's judgment all of a sudden?
I know.
Sorry.
No. Hey, look.
Melancon's a hot topic with me right now, man.
I was really, really happy to see him break camp positive. I thought, oh my God, he actually crossed. Yes, we're finally going to, what the F? You got to be kidding me. I mean, it was almost like you expected it. I expected it in spring training, no doubt, but I thought it was going to be near the end. Not after they fucking broke camp. I'm sorry. The timing could not have been worse with the gut punches, like you put it, of Bumgarner and the Shark. And it's just like, you know what? Maybe it's for the better, because you're right. Hunter Strickland, he's been a head case. He's always been like, hit my cheese, mother effer. And
but he's not that way anymore.
But he's not that way anymore. And he says he's matured and he's developed a slider now. And it's been effective. In fact, was the first or second night he threw 4 sliders in a row. And again, Affeldt was talking about Hunter Strickland today when I was listening to the show. And he said he's just really, really impressed with how much Strickland has matured, because he agreed. I mean, of course, Affeldt played with Strickland. They definitely overlapped. And he said he was more of a machismo guy, just mano-y-mano, hit my shit, and that's it, But you can't do that in the major leagues. You can't say, I throw 96, 97, 98, try to hit it, because they will. Because they will, okay? And Bryce Harper showed you. He owns you. He made you his bitch, right? So he took those experiences and he learned from them, and he developed some of the off-speed pitches, including the slider, and he's using it to his advantage. And when he threw 4 in a row, Affeldt was saying that here comes a guy with the predisposition or the notoriety of, okay, he's just going to throw me hard cheese. Okay, slider. All right, well, definitely the cheese is coming now. Oh, another slider. Crap. Okay, well, he's definitely going to throw cheese now. Oh, shit, another slider. And then the 4th one, right? So he said that's what he has to use to keep those hitters off their toes. And if he walks an occasional batter with a 1-run lead in the 9th inning, that's the risk he's going to have to take, because it's better than grooving one when one is expecting it and then hitting it over the fence. So Affeldt loves what he sees in Strickland. I think you and I agree that the maturity level may be there by now. And look, even if he's the closer for the first 3 months of the season and Melancon comes back, he's going to blow a couple of saves. It's going to happen. It happens to most closers. And I think we just have to look at the whole big picture. If he goes 8 of 10, 14 of 16 or 14 of 18, that's okay for a guy who's kind of learning to close now, because he hasn't really had the temperament of doing it. He has the tools. It's been kind of the mental capacity. And if he's developed it to the point now where he can lay off the pedal for the machismo and just go with, hey, I just need to keep these guys off balance and thinking and second-guessing themselves, that's how I succeed in the major leagues, not trying to throw my hardest down the middle. And I think that's great.
Yeah. Hunter Strickland, he's making strides. We saw it through spring this year. It just felt like a different guy. I'm hoping he takes it, and it's one of those things where Bochy's like, I can't take this guy out. He's 13 of 13 on saves. I really hope that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. That's going to be interesting. But with Bum and Shark, of course, on the DL, we knew that they were going to have to replace 2 guys. Then you throw in the fact of Melancon going on the DL at the last second, and the guy you thought was going to make the roster, which it looked like he would have, is Julian, or Julian, however you want to pronounce it, Fernandez. He goes down with the worst injury you can think of for a pitcher, and he tore his UCL. So he's having Tommy John surgery. So he's gone. He's gone for this year, and he certainly is gone for the beginning of next year. And then the fact that the Giants are going with a 4-man rotation until mid-April, because they have these off days where they don't need to use a 5th starter, because they need to do that because they don't have their 2 horses in the lineup. So that, in a sense, promoted guys that normally would not have made this team. And I got to tell you, when you look at that roster, that 25-man roster, I think Derek Holland was someone that they might have selected as long relief anyway. But we were talking Roberto Gomez, Derek Holland, Pierce Johnson, and Reyes Moranta. What the hell? Like, could you... I mean, last summer, Eric, would you have even predicted any of these guys could have even been... I mean, they weren't even on the Giants. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. Gomez was, but...
Gomez, yeah.
I mean, come on. This is just weird. These 4 guys out of the 14 pitchers or 13 pitchers, that's a high percentage of what the Fs. Just saying.
But you also notice that those guys only pitched on Saturday and Sunday when the Giants were down 5.
Giants were down, yeah. Right.
Like, who was the guy? Gomez gave up 4 runs yesterday, I think it was.
He did. He gave up 4 runs in 1 inning.
Yeah, it was batting practice, too. Like, they were swinging at the first and second pitch every time. It must have looked like a beach ball. There's a reason they're pitching in that. They're bodies. That's all they are right now. They are literally bodies, because Bochy is still able to manage with the bullpen on the days that they're the close games. Osich is still pitching well, and then they've got Strickland and Watson, like we've talked about. So, I mean, they're what the F additions, but, like, I don't know. My mindset is not every guy is there to shut the door. Sometimes you just need a guy to mop up innings.
Yeah, Derek Holland, of course, served as a number 3 starter, and it looks like he'll get another chance again here against LA, unfortunately. But he does a hell of an impression of many different voices, so there's that. Pierce Johnson actually did not look bad in spring training. He threw one scoreless inning yesterday. He looked pretty good. Gomez did get lit up. He definitely looks like batting practice, and he only has 5 or 6 innings in the major leagues now because he came up and had a cup of coffee with the Giants last year. I think he had 5 innings or 4 innings last year, and he had 1 inning so far this year. And he had an 8.42 ERA in those 4 or 5 innings last year. And, of course, he allows 4 runs in 1 inning this year. So he's not exactly starting very well in the major leagues. But I agree with you. I think these guys are they're the bottom of the totem pole. Well, not Derek Holland because he's a number 3 starter right now. But the other 3 guys, they're going to be used for mop-up, and it's going to happen. Hopefully, there's not going to be too many situations in which these guys are called upon in a tie game. But they will happen. It always does. We always have those games where 3 out of 4 games, the starter gets knocked out in the 3rd or the 4th, and the bullpen is taxed, and then pretty soon one of these guys is finding themselves, with a 1-run lead or a tie game in the 5th inning, and they're pitching, and that's just the way it goes. So that's where this deficiency may expose itself, because it didn't cost them any games, of course, in these 2 games, but we'll see what happens. It's an interesting roster. I'll just put it at that. What did you think though of Gorkis making, or Blanco, but I rate Blanco over Gorkis right now. But what do you think about Gorkis making it over Duggar? I mean, is it just a simple matter of Duggar needs more seasoning and that's what they're focused on because they don't want to ship him up and down too many times, or what?
That's what I see. Duggar only played 13 games in AAA last year. And there was a lot of talk about how the Giants faced a lot of left-handed starters. I mean, against the Dodgers, we just faced 3 out of 4. How they're going to face a lot of left-handed starters over the first couple weeks. So I think it's a combination of getting Duggar at bats down at AAA as well as playing the matchup game, because Gorkis is a guy that they can cut loose. Blanco is too, but Blanco kind of made it there. I think Gorkis is the guy they'll cut loose, and if he doesn't get picked up by a team, he'll gladly go back down to Sacramento. So that kind of a move doesn't bug me. It's not for service time. It's got nothing to do with keeping his contract down or anything like that. Duggar really needs some seasoning, and he needs to get the at-bats. Jackson's going to be starting like 10 of the first 14 games, so that's 2 weeks. So
at that point, on the bench anyway.
Right. You don't want him sitting on the bench. You don't want young guys sitting on the bench. You want them to be doing things.
Yeah, I was one that was not upset that he didn't make the team on opening day because he's not ready. He has so many limited at-bats in AAA and AA. Really, all the minor leagues. He has a lot of Class A at-bats in San Jose, but other than that, I mean, he just needs more seasoning. And we've seen guys rushed up a little too fast and seen what the effect may be. So anyway, I do think Duggar has a promising future. Did we address? I don't think we addressed last week because this happened in between, but Jarrett Parker was released. Yeah,
Holland took his roster spot.
So yeah, I don't know if he's been picked up. I don't know if he's gone all the way through, but he's a free agent right now. Jarrett Parker. Their outfield was too big. Even in AAA, even in Sacramento, they just had too many outfielders. So.
Which is weird because Parker was the starting left fielder last year. Mm-hmm. He is one of the 11 starting left fielders since Barry Bonds left, one for every year.
God, that's disgusting.
Yeah, it is. I couldn't believe I didn't bring it up last week. And he might not have ever gotten released if he didn't crash into the wall and break his collarbone.
You're absolutely right. And you know what's weird about it is that, I'm going to bring it up right now, but he's not a world beater. We know this. But he's not... When you look at his stats, you're like, I mean, it's not that bad, right? So, like, MLB career. Hitting .257 with 15 jacks, 51 RBI, and 342 at-bats. So if you extrapolate that to, 550... to 600 at bat year, you're talking 23 to 25 jacks. Oops, sorry about that. 23 to 25 jacks and about 80 plus RBIs and hitting .257. Wow. You look at that and you're like, that's really not that bad. Unfortunately, a lot of those home runs kind of came in bunches. Like he hit 6 of those 15 in just 49 at-bats in 2015.
He had that Oakland game where he hit 3 home runs.
He had 3 home runs in one game, and that was 3 of his 15 home runs, right? He hit 5 in 127 at-bats in 2016, and then last year he hit 4 in 166 at-bats. So you see this trend of at-bats going up and home runs actually going down. So there's some trending there, and of course his average is 347 to 236 to 247. So you have these downward trends. I am a little surprised they released him, but again, they needed to make room. They have Austin Slater and Mac Williamson and others in the and of course Duggar in AAA. So they just didn't have a spot for him. So they outright released him. It's something I would not have predicted a couple of weeks ago.
No, but he seems to be the odd man out in that rotation.
Yeah.
Parker
it's Williamson and Parker are going to be our new left field platoon, and now he's not even on the freaking team.
Now, Parker, he's always had potential. He's lost potential, though. He's a guy, I mean, we can all admit it. The guy hits the ball hard, but he just doesn't hit the ball enough.
Yeah, if those stats were reversed, if you saw an upward trend in average and home runs, even if he wasn't good enough to make the opening day roster, I don't think they would have released him. But I think it's kind of the old Bill Walsh attitude. It's just cut your losses earlier rather than later. And that's just what they're doing. I mean, most likely this guy isn't going to get signed by a team and come back and be the NL or AL MVP. So that's kind of what they're moving with. But it just because the Giants' classic history of lack of outfield depth since Bonds left, it's just surprising to see this happen, considering he was one of their, quote, future stars.
But, hey, that's another reason why I think the Giants will be okay. They have depth.
They do. Now they have depth. They're going to be okay. They're 2-2, guys. Don't freak out, okay? First month of April, if they're still hitting 050 for those 3 guys, we got a problem. Not right now. All right, so let's get to who's hot and who's not. I think we've pretty much covered everyone, but we'll just summarize who's hot. Of course, Joe Panik, 2 game-winning homers, solo shots. And overall, he's 6 for 15 in the series and for the season, hitting 400. So nothing wrong with him right now. Ty Blach, of course, with 5 shutout innings against the Dodgers. He got the win. I did think he was going to go a little bit longer, but I think there was a pinch-hitting situation with a runner on first and 2 outs, which was a little weird because it was like, you need an extra base hit or 2 hits here to score that run, but they pulled Blach. Yeah. However, the bullpen really, really rose to the challenge, and that's what piqued my interest in this new revamped Giants bullpen, because they did 4 shutout innings. I don't have the box score in front of me, but I know it was Corey Guerin, which, by the way, I don't want to delve into him too much, but Tony Watson looked good, Hunter Strickland looked good, but Corey Guerin got out there, and I'll be honest with you, his sliders look like really flat frisbees, very hittable. And the Dodgers didn't hit him, and I was a little surprised because he left a couple over the plate that I thought were going to be launched. What did you think?
I thought they looked like Sergio sliders.
Yeah, Sergio sliders,
they disappear on hitters.
I guess that's what it is. It seemed to me that Sergio's, even though they're frisbee, they disappeared much better. They tailed much better. His just seemed to kind of level off. You know what I mean? They didn't seem to tail as much as Sergio's, but they were missing him. So, but when you're watching from a center field camera, you really can't pick up as much as you do in reality. Plus, every camera is different. But he got the job done. So he also looks like a mountain man now. By the way,
he does. He's got I saw some story that his family doesn't even know who he is because he.
I read that. Yeah, like friends and family were like, "Wait, what? That's Corey? No." That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Tony Watson, I just mentioned him. 2 innings pitched, no runs, 5 Ks, and of course Strickland 2 for 2 in saves, and he looked pretty darn solid. Do you have any other players that you thought were hot over the weekend?
Yeah, I want to give credit to Hunter Pence.
Yeah.
Because not only did Pence play a pretty decent left field, he put the ball in play. He was 4 for 14. He had a double, 3 singles, but he wasn't just getting his hits in the garbage time when they were down 5-0. Pence was getting on base and trying to do stuff generally in front of Crawford and Belt, or Belt and Crawford in the lineup, which I still don't understand why Belt isn't heading ahead of Pence, but that's different. So I give credit to Pence. Pence really showed me something this first weekend. I thought that he would kind of show up with an offer, but he's put some good swings together and had some solid contact.
Yeah, Pence had changed his stance coming into spring training and was like 1 for 19 and went back to his old stance and, hit the crap out of the ball the rest of spring training. So, yeah, he's not a world beater these days, but again, he looked good in those first 4 games. I agree with you. Okay, let's talk about who's not. We already mentioned this. Longo 0 for 15, Cutch 1 for 16, Jackson 1 for 12, and Roberto Gomez 4 earned runs in 1 inning. Not that we want to shoot any more Giants in the back, but anything else stand out to you as not being good over the weekend?
No, we covered it. I mean,
yeah.
There's really nobody else that it's funny. The one name we haven't mentioned, and it's not on the bad side. Actually, the good side is Posey.
I was about to say he was like 306 or 316 for the weekend. So just a good weekend.
He squared up. Yeah, he squared up some balls. I'll tell you, Belt actually squared up some balls too. Crawford was able to get by. He had a couple of flare base hits. Overall, I didn't really think anybody looked horrible. Honestly, Longo was the guy that I thought looked like he was pressing the most, but everybody else was generally making solid contact. And you switch it around to the pitching side, Gomez is the only guy that's gotten shelled so far. Like, he had to go get him yesterday. It sucked because Gomez should have been able to just finish out the game and not bring Maranta in. But he didn't. But other than that, everybody's been kind of doing what I expected them to do.
So, I agree with you. I've been watching the games for the most part. I've watched most of the innings. And to me, Evan Longoria just has the facial expression and body language of someone who is pushing too hard. And I'm not a psychologist, and I could be reading into that a little too much. But he does appear to be pushing a little too much. Josh Reddick of the Astros didn't get a hit before tonight's game. And so he tweeted earlier today, I will get a hit. 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 And it goes on for all whatever the maximum characters that Twitter allows. And he's gotten so much love for this. 14,000 likes, 2.2 thousand retweets, 500 comments or whatever. People just love this. I mean, here we are, a Major League Baseball player. They're all supposed to be quiet and kind of like not talk about this kind of stuff, because it's kind of taboo or it's bad luck or it's whatever. And he's just like straight up calling himself out. I will get a hit. I will get a hit. I will get a hit. So I was watching the Astros game tonight while I was making dinner for my son. And sure enough, Reddick's second at bat flares a little dink into center field. And the crowd went freaking crazy at Minute Maid Park. And he gets onto first base. And I swear it was like my son getting a base hit. His elation was just over the top. He was just so stoked he finally broke the seal. I think that's what Longo needs, man. Longo needs to tweet out, I will get a hit. I'll get a hit. I'll get a hit. But I love it. I love that Reddit kind of took it and ran with it because it's like you can push too hard, press too hard. And yeah, posting this on Twitter some people might consider that pressing too hard. But I also think it's a little bit of a release, actually. It's kind of opening up your door to the world saying, yeah, I'm kind of stressed about this. I need a base hit, guys, And everybody kind of got behind him. And the crowd went crazy when he got the hit. He acted like a little kid, like he got his first major league hit. It was amazing. It was really cool. So even Josh Reddick, another veteran who went 0 for the first 3 games, and that was only 3 games, by the way, not 4, finally got his hit. So Longo, go ahead. Take to Twitter, wish for a little bit of luck, and we'll see what happens when the Giants open up tomorrow.
Well, hopefully he gets love when the Giants open up tomorrow. I hope fans aren't already sour.
No, they're not going to sour. I mean, look, let's be honest. We're talking about people on opening day. Half of them are going to be corporate-sponsored people and people who casually follow the Giants. Half the stadium isn't even going to realize that this guy's 0 for so far. So there's not going to be any problem there. If it was Philadelphia, yeah, might be a problem. I don't know. We'll see. Wouldn't want to play for that team ever. So coming up, the Giants do have 2 games, including their home opener tomorrow. It's an afternoon game Unfortunately, I cannot attend either one. I really wanted to go to Wednesday's game, but I don't think it's going to be able to work out against the Seattle Mariners, which is an odd home opener against an American League team. They're going to have Ichiro in town. Now, this is a team that, of course, they could lose to, but hopefully they can beat up upon. Taking these 2 games, heading into a series with LA, which is the next 3-game series at home, would be really, really nice. So a split would be acceptable. Hopefully they take 2. You got any notes about the Mariners? I mean, like, what's going on with them? Are they they're going to come in with any fire? I mean, what's the whole Ichiro thing?
I mean, D. Gordon hit a home run yesterday that made everybody happy to put them ahead. They can hit a little bit. They're a mediocre team. They are. They're going to finish middle of the pack this year. So if the Giants split with them, it's totally fine. My best note about this week is the Giants had an off day today at home and have an off day Thursday at home. Yeah. So that's 2 off days at home this week. Last year they only had 2 off days at home all season.
Are you serious?
Dead serious. They had to travel on every other day that they got off, that they were at home. They had to travel, or they just came back from traveling.
Right.
And so they only had 2 full days all season off at home. And here we are, the first week of the season, they're going to get 2 full days off at home, which is nice.
Because it's LA, they flew home after the game last night.
Right.
So they were home all day today. Basically an off day at home. They woke up in their own beds, at least in San Francisco. And they do that again Thursday. Wow, that is incredible. I mean, that's one of the reasons, by the way, if you guys didn't realize, that all of Major League Baseball started a little bit earlier this year. Usually we start around April 1st or so, April 2nd, like today. They backed up the season about 2 or 3 days, or even up to 4 days, because they wanted to build in more off days for these teams. So that was kind of the main reason. And look, at the Giants already are benefiting from that attempt to stretch out the season by 4 or 5 games. Now, in the long run, over 6 months, you think 3 or 4 days, what the hell? But it actually does make a difference, because you just insert a couple of off days here or there, especially on these big, long stretches of games or between road trips. It makes a big deal for these guys. The only problem, of course, is you get days like today where in New England and New York, it snowed like crazy and canceled a bunch of games. So they're going to have to make those up now.
Suckers.
Suckers. Yeah,
I haven't seen snow in 8 years.
No, it's nice down here. Never going to have a snow out. Definitely going to have your rainouts, but that's just a product of being in the spring. It could rain as much as, in Florida as it does anywhere else. But yeah, so the Giants are going to be facing the Mariners and the Dodgers coming up. We will be recording, next Monday, I guess. That'll be after the next 5 games. So it'll be 9 games in the bank by the time we record next. So typically every year, during the season anyway, we do a section called We Should Hate This Guy. And this guy, said it with that accent. We should hate this guy. Yeah, let's have some coffee talk here. And kind of is a playful banter in guys we don't really hate, although sometimes we do. It's more about either performance against the Giants or a snarky remark or something like that. But I will say we all should hate Rich Hill. He's 38 years old and making guys miss 88-mile-an-hour fastballs. I don't know what's up with this guy. He is just like having a second coming, and they limit him to like 2 times through the rotation or through the lineup. I mean, they say, okay, that's good enough. 5 innings, 6 innings, you're out of here. And last year he had a ridiculous sub-2 ERA at 37. Here he is at 38, and he shut out the Giants for 5 innings or so. So he's right back into his old mold. It makes me want to strap the uniform back on. I just am like, what the hell?
He's my age. Like, that's not right.
He should be an accountant. And, oh, wait, there's an accountant who played goalie for the Blackhawks last week.
Oh, that was
awesome. An amazing story.
That was awesome.
I don't mean to take a tangent, but, dude, this guy was an accountant doing 10 key, and they're like, hey, John, we need you downstairs. Or Scott. I guess his name was Scott Foster, right? Scott, we need you to be goalie tonight. And he was like, what? And he goes down and has to suit up. And they have a jersey for him because they have an open tryout for the emergency goalie every year for all NHL teams. And the funny thing is that you actually might replace the visiting team's goalie if that were to happen, which is very odd to me. I got to admit. So they were playing Winnipeg. So let's say if Winnipeg had those injuries, he would have been actually playing for Winnipeg against the team that he works for. And I'm like, how does that work? That's just an odd thing. But
I mean, let's be honest. Canadians believe in integrity, so we got to give them credit.
Got to try your hardest, eh? No matter who you vote for, eh?
Oh, yeah.
He goes in and he plays 14 and a half minutes and stops 7 of 7 shots. Incredible. And it was just so awesome. And he's 36 years old. That's why I bring that up. You know, he's just 2 years younger than you and Rich Hill. And he's never played, obviously, in the NHL. He was a college hockey goalie, and he plays in a rec league. And he won the open tryout, so he obviously has basic skills. But, I mean, come on. I have basic skills playing baseball, but I could never go in and play catcher with Madison Bumgarner throwing against me. There's just no way. I couldn't do it.
I played catcher. I played catcher through a lot of my adult life. So it's like pulling me out of the stands and saying, okay, we need you to catch the last 3 innings.
Yeah. It was almost a third of the game. It would be like catching the last 3 innings. And it's like, you know, I caught before guys who threw up to 90 miles an hour. I haven't caught anyone that threw mid-90s or like with a wicked slider or forkball or any of these things.
Let me tell you, it's fun. When you watch movement on pitches like that and you're like, wow, my glove can make that. Oh, it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's just... Anyway, it was a cool story. Sorry for the tangent, but it's definitely something that Disney should look into, making a movie, except, of course, they'll probably put in angels and some ethereal
like that
presence
Devil Rays pitcher guy who...
Yeah! Dennis Quaid played, and he was like... using the street radar for his baseball pitches, which, by the way, would never work because they can't pick up something as small as a baseball.
And I only remember that from the commercial. I never saw the movie.
It was a pretty bad movie. Yeah. Anyway, but you got your guys like ex quarterback for the Rams, Super Bowl MVP and blinking out. He was bagging groceries, that kind of thing. Kurt Warner. Yeah. You have these stories, but this is a little different because he never played professional, not even semi-pro. He was just playing in an amateur recreational league, and he gets, boom, done. Movie, he can tell his kids. He doesn't have to play another minute in the NHL. He's done. In fact, I would say I quit because I would never want to go back out should it ever happen again and then get lit up, right?
I agree with. Okay, that I agree with.
I would just be like, drop the mic. You can hire someone else because, number one, it probably won't happen again. And number two, if it does, I might get lit up. I want to go out with my perfect record. I'm going to go out for 7 for 7 and be done. So that'd be pretty sweet. He's in the record books. But yeah, anyway, Rich Hill. So how about you?
Well, the guy I'm going to hate this week is Puig because, he's Yasiel Puig. And there were times, I'll give him twofold. I'll give him a little crap. Because I noticed yesterday there's not an at-bat that goes by that Yasiel Puig doesn't turn around and say something to the umpire. Yeah, and it's like, man, shut your effing mouth. Get in the box. Sometimes it's a strike and you don't agree with it. That's fucking life. That's your job. That's the game. And as somebody who umpired for many, 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 many years, like that would drive me nuts. Knowing every time that this guy got in the box, he's going to be asking me on the 2-1 pitch, where was that? How many inches in was? I mean, like, shut up, get in the box. And I also hate Puig because he did good. It's funny, he's literally at bat right now as I'm talking about this in the Dodger Diamondback game. Ooh, Goldie almost got that. The other thing though I hate him for was he made a really smart play in last night's game. He really tried to get in the rundown to make sure Seager scored. He didn't care if he was out. And then he was safe. Seager scored, and it led to not good things. So, I mean, you got to hate Puig because he's Puig. He's an annoyance, but he's also an annoyance because he's a good ball player, and I hate him for that reason too.
I know. I can respect his physical talents. He has probably the best arm in the outfield in all of baseball. And he's a good hitter, and he's got special talents, but I just don't like his attitude. And hey, look, that's the way a lot of people thought about Barry Bonds, even before the steroid thing, right? So
Yep.
I can feel for people who hated that, who hated Bonds that way because we hate Puig that way. In fact, most people who are not Dodgers fans are not big fans of Puig, but you got to respect his talent, and he's definitely there. I think we'll just insert him every week. Can we just do that? I'm just going to lock him in.
Yeah.
Just Puig every week.
Yeah.
Our default, garden gnome that we could beat on. That'd be sweet.
I mean, he's easy. I mean,
he is easy.
The problem is A-Rod was talking last night that he spent a lot of the offseason working with Puig, and Puig has finally figured this out, and Puig has finally figured that out. So I'm kind of worried he's going to be a little less selfish this year, and might actually be the Dodgers' best player. And
I don't want that to happen.
I don't either, because they already got Seager, they got Bellinger, they got Turner. Like, enough.
Oh, crap. All right, so coming up, we have the home opener for the Giants tomorrow afternoon. 2 games against the Seattle Mariners and, of course, 3 against the Dodgers before we record next Monday night. Well, that's about it for episode 137. I'm your host, Chad King, and, of course, you can follow me on Twitter at ChadK21. You can follow Eric at 2outhits, that's with the number 2. Collectively at TortureCast, and, of course, the 2 absent. They'll be in here and there. They're not going to be regular hosts this year, but they will contribute when they can. Willie Dills at Willie Dills, and of course Ben at Fried Duck. Check out our Facebook page. We're definitely active. Eric has been writing a ton. I'm definitely going to be writing more this year. Look forward to a bunch of the games that I'm going to be covering this year. I think I'm going to be covering at least 2 or 3 in April, and definitely more than I did last year for the entire year. Eric, you got anything else to pimp or state?
No, I really don't. I got married, and I totally didn't give a shit about the Giants for like 4 days. It was nice to watch the games, but I couldn't get into the numbers. I was on cloud 9, the honeymoon phase, if you will. I mean, we've been together a long time, but so I don't have anything to pimp right now, but I will definitely be writing stuff throughout the season.
So
life's just been busy.
What's really funny is I got married in October 11th. 2003. Now, if you remember, the Giants were in the World Series the year prior, so that was the year in which the Giants got eliminated by the Marlins with that.
Pudge.
Yeah, with the block of the plate with JT Snow getting tagged out by Pudge. But when we were planning the wedding 6 months prior, of course, the Giants were predicted to win the West and go to the playoffs and the whole thing, and we just wrote off the World Series through 7 games. So we were thinking, oh my God, we want to do our honeymoon in October and our wedding in October. What if the Giants make the playoffs? And my wife is like, you better not give a shit, because we're going to Grand Cayman, honey, and you better not give a crap because we're going to be doing other stuff. And so it was like this weird, like, I want them to do well, but not too well because I don't want to miss it kind of thing. Because of course that was prior to the Giants have ever winning a World Series in my lifetime. And, of course, they got knocked out. So it is interesting how when you get married and you're in your, I know you're not on your honeymoon right now, but you had 4 days there where you didn't really care. It's like you got real life going on. So, and that's what real life really is about. Of course, this is just a distraction. Sports are just a distraction.
I gotta share with listeners though that I got married in a San Francisco Giants cap.
Ah. That's good to know.
I was wearing a San Francisco Giants cap when I said my wedding vow. She was wearing her Cubs shirt. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we had to
World
both
Championship
represent.
Shirt, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I bought her that shirt,
Oh, well, very nice of you, sir.
Well, I mean, her team won. I mean, 108 years is a long time.
It's okay. Giants and Cubs fans can coexist. It's the Giants and Dodgers fans. I don't know how you've seen those married couples, and you just kind of go, okay, I don't think either one of you are actually hardcore baseball fans because there's no way you can marry each other.
But that's the thing. I shared it with people, and you know what? At least she's not a Dodger fan. That's the thing. She's not a Dodger fan.
It's so sad, but it's true. It's like I have plenty of friends that are Dodger fans. I don't think I could have married anyone that was a hardcore Dodger fan. Just no way.
I couldn't. I also couldn't marry a Packer fan, but that's just me because I literally hate. I hate the Packers more than I hate the Dodgers, and that's a really strong statement.
Well, that must also soften the blow because you have all your Chicago roots, right? I mean, you're
totally.
You're a Bears
fan,
so and your Chicago roots. It's like, I mean, I'm not going to call the A's the same equivalent as Chicago, but at the same time, it's like, if Trish was an A's fan, I'd be like, oh, whatever, doesn't matter, right? It's like,
Yes.
So no, I think that lessens the blow even more. Because the Giants and Cubs, they've had their fair share of tilts, the 1989 NLCS in which Will Clark was the MVP, and of course they went off. We know what happened in the one-game wild card matchup in which blank it out on the pitcher. This is 2004, in the wild card game they lost to the Cubs. Mark Gardner, thank you. I was at a brewery.
1998.
God, was it that? It was that old.
Yes, it was. It was 1998.
No, because that was still a Candlestick. I was at a pub that day in downtown San Jose, and we got all on TV for that, being interviewed. And, of course, the Cubs, in 2016. So they've had their fair share, but nothing devastating for anyone. So
people hate the Cubs, and it's just because they won, Like Giants
that's
fans.
just different.
Right, but they hate Cubs fans because they feel cocky. But that's what everybody thought of us a few years ago. So
absolutely,
really,
especially with 3 out of 5. I mean, there were many fans?
We're obnoxious,
quote unquote. Did you know wearing all the gold gear, pimping everything out, and then if you just got into any conversation with them, you realize they didn't know anything about the team.
Yeah,
it's just a product of bandwagon, fandom. It is. So it's the same thing with the Red Sox. When they had their little successful run, and I went to Boston one year after the 2004 championship, first time since 1908 or whatever, 19-something, and
18,
1918. Oh no,
18. 18 was
because Cubs were the longest in
1908.
Yeah,
right. And the Black Sox scandal was 19, and the White Sox were 17. Forget it.
That's right. So anyway, the same thing, just seeing all these people repping all the gear, and it was like, you guys, do you know who the starting outfield is? Like, no, but that's okay. So I digress. Congratulations to Eric for getting married and marrying a Cubs fan, but not a Dodgers fan.
Just marrying a baseball fan, man. Do you know how much baseball's been on my television in the last 4 days, 5 days? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I consider my wife, she's a fan of the Giants, but she won't sit down and watch a whole game. It's different, right?
I'm so freaking lucky. Yeah, no, I got lucky. I did.
I have to record all my games and watch them later. So.
No, I write down a schedule on my whiteboard of when the Giants and the Cubs games are every single day, so she knows when her Cubs will be on. She likes Kruk and Kipe better than the Cubs announcers. So to my wife, the Giants game being on is more home than the Cubs game being on, and that's kind of a neat feeling. Yeah, that's a neat feeling.
All right, well, it looks like Villanova is going to be winning the national championship. They're up 77.
Woo-hoo, go Wildcats!
Go Wildcats. They were up by 19 points with 2.5 minutes to play. So, yeah.
It was so much more fun 2 years ago when they hit that buzzer beater.
I know. This game, it's been on the TV over my left shoulder, and it just has not been exciting. Villanova has dominated this since the first tip. In fact, they just had free shots under the basket, and they decided not to shoot it just to waste more time. But all right, so Wildcats are going to be your national champions. Hopefully we can say the same thing about the San Francisco Giants coming in another even year. I know they didn't win in 2016, but they did make the playoffs, so they still have that streak going. So
94 wins. They got 94 wins to go, man.
Wins. Okay, well, they're on pace for 81 right now, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, they'll be all right. They're on pace. They got 94 to go. I'm doing the countdown every win because I picked 96. I'm doing the countdown every time they win until 96.
That could be worse than 2-2, right?
Well, hopefully it won't take me until 2019 to count 96 wins.
That's right. All right. Well, for Eric, for Willie, for Ben, this is Chad King signing off for episode 137. We'll see you next time for episode 138. Until then, a boom.
A big thank you to everybody for listening to the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook or check out our blog at torturecast.com. I also want to say thank you to Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song Feeling Like a Giant for our intro. For Ben Lee and Chad King, my name is Willie Dills saying, we'll see you next time.